Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football inside the NFL world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Brandon Staley being fired from the Los Angeles Chargers. So, the news broke this afternoon in the world of the NFL that this afternoon the Los Angeles Chargers went ahead and fired both head coach Brandon Staley and general manager Tom Telesco. Both of them have been relieved of their duties. The Chargers will be looking for a new head coach and a new general manager this NFL offseason. Really, at this particular point, the Chargers being 5-9, as soon as Week 18 is set and done and in the record books, they're going to be looking for a new head coach and a new general manager as soon as possible. 5-9, they're not going to make the playoffs this year, especially with Justin Herbert being shut down for the remainder of the season. So, my thoughts on Brandon Staley being fired, it's been a long time coming. And honestly, Brandon Staley is lucky to be the Chargers head coach as long as he was at this particular point of the NFL season. He should have been fired a long time ago. Really should have been fired at halftime for his coaching performance that he had last night against the Las Vegas Raiders. But Brandon Staley, they didn't do anything special with the Los Angeles Chargers. He went 24-24 as the head coach at the helm with the Chargers over the last few years. He blew a 27-0 lead in the wildcard matchup to the Jacksonville Jaguars last year when the Jaguars went ahead and pulled off one of the biggest comebacks in NFL history, especially NFL playoff history. Then Brandon Staley has just lost the locker room ever since then, especially this season in the NFL. I feel like the Chargers, that talented team, just did not listen to his message being a head coach. I feel like he lost the locker room weeks ago. Now it all came down, especially from last night's loss. And don't get me wrong, Brandon Staley has no excuses. He has had talent surrounded by his side since he's been the head coach for the Chargers. He has a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. He had a running back in Austin Eckler. He had a star wide receiver in Keenan Allen. He had a good wide receiver in Mike Williams. He had Khalil Mack. He had Joey Bosa. He had Derwin James. Talent on the defensive side of the ball, being a defensive-minded head coach. And last night, losing to the Las Vegas Raiders, their divisional rival, losing to them 63-21. Trailing 42-0 at halftime. He really should have been fired at halftime. First head coach fired in NFL history at halftime. But he's lucky he wasn't fired at halftime. And that was the final straw for the Chargers to fire. After that game, that was the final straw for his tenure with the Los Angeles Chargers. They had no choice but to fire him. But don't get me wrong, man. This NFL offseason, this is the most attractive job in the NFL to take this NFL offseason. There are going to be jobs like the Commanders. I feel like they're going to fire Ron Rivera. Atlanta, if they go ahead and fire Arthur Smith, I don't believe they will do that. This is the most attractive offseason job to have in the NFL. Oh, and I can also throw in the Chicago Bears if they fire their head coach. But out of all teams that could have a slot available at the head coaching position, the Chargers is the most attractive spot to coach in next NFL offseason because you already are coming into a franchise with talent surrounded around you, and you're going to have a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, and you're going to be in a warm area. You're going to be on the West Coast. You're going to be playing in SoFi Stadium, a beautiful stadium. Who would not want to coach the Los Angeles Chargers next season? But and for Brandon Staley, I do believe that he could coach somewhere next year, not as the head coach because he's not ready at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's never an NFL head coach again. But never say never in the NFL, and people get second chances. But I feel like he could still coach next year and be a defensive coordinator elsewhere for a team that's going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator. He does have history of being a good defensive coordinator. That is the reason how he got the job with the Chargers in the first place. If you look back at his track record, look back at his track history, him being a good defensive head coach with the Los Angeles Rams years ago and helped them have a top defensive unit in the NFL. And actually helped them get to the Super Bowl years ago when they lost to the New England Patriots. So he has history of being a good defensive coordinator. I don't know where his defensive mind went when he became the Chargers head coach because he was calling defensive plays for a little bit. But the defense, as a defensive-minded head coach, you can't blow a 27-0 lead in the wild card game. You can't have your defense nearly towards at best top at number 25 ranked defense in the NFL. That just can't happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a defensive coordinator next year, but definitely going to be a very long time if he's ever going to be an NFL head coach again. But talking about the future of Justin Herbert, Hopefully, Justin Herbert can finally find a head coach that can help him get to the promised land in the National Football League. Like I said, Justin Herbert is talented. He's a top 10 quarterback. He can make plays in the pocket. He can make plays with an arm that most NFL quarterbacks cannot. The talent is there. We never questioned that about Justin Herbert. But now it's time to see Justin Herbert get an offensive head coach that can help him get to the promised land, because he's had head coaches like Anthony Lynn and Brandon Staley since he's been in the National Football League. He's going into his 5th season next year with his 3rd NFL head coach. That's not good for Justin Herbert. So hopefully he finds a good offensive head coach that can help him. They'll help the Chargers become playoff threats, division winners in the AFC West, playoff contenders, and potentially go on a deep playoff run. Hell, even go to the Super Bowl. That's what Justin Herbert needs in his NFL career, and hopefully they can deliver that. I think this offseason is the most crucial in Chargers history, because you're going to have to get a head coach that can finally help you win with a talented quarterback at Justin Herbert at the helm. So that's my thoughts on Brandon Staley being fired, and that's my thoughts on what the Chargers need to do this offseason. And that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.